Please identify yourself.
Good morning. My name. Oh, thank you. Good morning. My name is Doug Lutz. I'm from Nova Chemicals. John, you talked about factories being able to retool the product line in a virtual sense and be able to manufacture the product where we want, when we want, and basically go to that customer base. So my wondering was, how do you see the workforce rallying around that? So they have to accommodate that, obviously. So will they say, beam me up, Scotty? Or will they say, make me a 3D worker, and or we'll have a 3D printer clone everyone and transport them to wherever we need to manufacture that product?
So I don't know the answer, to be honest. But I think as the choices increase, I think firstly the reality is there will be more stuff going on, whatever that stuff is. Will we ever get into some plants with zero? No. But will we reduce it significantly? Absolutely, yes. In terms of the location of the people, etc., I think what it does say is you don't have to move east continually. So if I look at the mature countries like the US, the UK, Germany, etc., I think it's a great positive, frankly. And I think then what you'll also see in China is new industries and new businesses coming up. And that's what we see today. So you will see a different economy in China than just the export economy that exists today.
Okay. Anyone else like to comment? No? Okay. Any other question? Okay. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Could we get a microphone there? Alan. Sorry. Raise your hand, please, so that we can bring microphone to you if you have a question. So, any question over here? Raise your hand so that we can bring the mic to you next time. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Dex Dutson from Conagra Foods. A couple of you have mentioned the convergence of the IT and the automation groups, and I'm curious to know what your feelings are, if you have concerted efforts, if you've identified this as being an issue in your companies, and have you done anything to try to create a structure where you could bring those two disciplines together?
Okay. I know Dow has done it for many years ago. Maybe you could share some ideas?
I would say we've got a very close relationship between our IT organization and the automation that we have in manufacturing and engineering. In different pockets, there have been runs at pulling them entirely together, but what it often comes down to is that the IT function, bottom line, is driven by cost as well as service, and we know on the manufacturing side that we still have separate needs in terms of safety, security, and reliability, and so we keep that expertise there with those needs. We keep the IT providers with both the commodity IT piece and collaboration together. So for instance, in our process automation space, we have a very shared model for providing, where we've got IT providing the servers, the network, but on the automation side, we've got folks from M&E that have the expertise in the tools. So it's a good collaboration, and one that seems to work out well for us.
Norbert? Yeah.
Well, I think this is a very, very important issue, and we just restructured and created a department we call manufacturing IT. They are just in between DCS and ERP. And they have to focus from computer-aided engineering, about traditional MES, to everything what is new on embedded technology, everything what you need above or besides DCS and below ERP on future IT. They're also responsible for this, what you call cyber security, security of production systems, just at the beginning. But I think it's important to combine, that's why we did it, yeah, knowledge from automation in IT in one group and make them responsible for developing new ideas, new requirements, and also implement this into the production facilities.
Good. Go ahead, John.
I was just going to add a different perspective, I guess, which is the challenge I've said in my organization is, can we have external partners to manage our IT? Because my concern always is, if everything is internal, will we just always have the same view? And when I kind of look and see some of the external partners who have IT, they bring a much fresher view, and I may be speaking just within my own Castrol organization, than I see within my business. They give me a much better feel for the future, and they're not burdened by the same set of parameters necessarily that I have.
Jim?
Yeah, at Owens Corning, we continue to evolve this model. We've been in this kind of structure for 8 years or so right now. So where our folks who are focused on the technology on the shop floor and all the integration of that have been a part of the IT organization for a long time. We set standards, we set global direction, and then the business units will execute against those standards in our capital deployment process. More recently, in my role, I've taken over all of IT operations in addition to all of the technology on our shop floors, which I've had responsibility for a long time. And I think that's really a recognition that we can drive more value in our business by looking at the problems as a joined function. So that IT isn't just a cost play and a cost-lowering play, but that the IT technology that we bring and how we integrate it to the shop floor and how we leverage it across our business actually drives as much value as a advanced process control model in our manufacturing plant. So I think that's key. And then, in addition to that is the way we size the organization. We have expertise in-house, but we collaborate with a number of partners. IBM, TCS, Cisco, Rockwell, et cetera, a number of big players out there to help us continually refresh our viewpoint on how technology should play in our business and what the best practices are in the industry today.
Dean, General Dynamics, you have a different environment, obviously, on the factory side, CNCs and so forth. Do you have this issue? These, obviously these companies, they have a lot of controls, which are very different. Do you have this automation IT kind of conflict at your company, or how do you bring it together?
Well, everything we make is governed by what's called the ITAR, the International Traffic and Arms Regulations. So, all of the componentry, everything in our factory, it's all the technical data, all the manufacturing know-how, it's all governed by ITAR. So we have to be very, very careful to make sure none of that data can possibly escape. So that's always been an issue. But the company that I work for is a little bit behind, I would say, in this IT world. If I could just ask the audience one more polling question, has anyone ever heard of Maxim? Yeah, couple of old-timers out there. So we're still using Maxim for our ERP system. So that, that's been around for more than 20 years, and it's no longer even maintained by the original company that produced it. We've got in-house people that do that. But it's certainly pretty cheap to operate, and it provides our management team enough information that we can manage the business effectively. And so we still haven't even done SAP 1 yet, so I'm kind of jealous of my colleagues here.
Okay. Could we have a question over here? Go ahead, Bill.
Bill Lyden, editor of Automation.com and ISA's Intech magazine. I guess it would be for John Carey. You talked about collaborating tightly with suppliers, a few suppliers, for building out the future, but that has a potential that you could be blindsided by innovations coming from others. Do you have some way that you hedge against that?
Yeah.
Or protect against that?
Yeah, absolutely. As a global business, we deal with thousands of suppliers. I think what I talk about is a deep strategic relationship with some. But part of the idea of Castrol InnoVentures, which we have, and I have as a separate business, and Brian Rabiner, who's here, who runs it, it actually is to look right across the globe and to look for what is going on elsewhere. And it's the great power of the computing today. So it's not putting all the eggs in one basket, but it is actually trying to place some bets.
I'd like to sort of build on this question. Obviously all of us, we are talking about all this change is coming, and right now, like Jim mentioned, should we fear it or should we, feel comfortable, moving forward? How could we, maybe John, maybe you could start this, how should companies go about adopting some of these newer technologies? What kind of business processes you have developed, to start bringing some of these newer technologies, newer approaches within the company? Would you like to, maybe have you done some thinking like that? Maybe you could start us off.
So yeah, we have brought some in, and I think part of this is trying to separate it a little bit from the day-to-day. And it is this acceptance that we are going to fail, and that we're going to try things out within a safe environment. So one of the overriding pieces of all of this, and the first and foremost is safety, of course. But actually, in bringing things in and having a clear and concise approach to it, rather than doing it across the business. So we have multiple business models. We obviously operate globally. Greg, so the opportunity to do it in certain areas in certain countries, whether it's preventive maintenance, etc., we've done that, whether it's using new materials or trialing new products. One of the huge advantage, to go back to this relationships and with customers and suppliers, is the access that you then have to trial it. So one of the great advantages we have with some of our partners and customers is actually going in and doing this, not just as a trial within our business, but a trial within the industry.
Go ahead, Norbert.
Well, we have established a process, what we call technology adaptation. Mm-hmm. So it has many facets, but first is some kind of technology scouting, that we know what is coming up, that especially in IT we are doing mm-hmm. that. And then we have the ownership, and must have the ownership, because we know our processes best, what is necessary, what we do to our requirements. And normally there's a gap between what is available and what are our requirements. And then we are searching in a kind of organized open innovation for partners who are willing with us together to close the gaps, to make new developments. Only if we cannot find anybody, then we do it by ourselves for a certain time. And then that's a continuous process, and it's then executed by projects. Yeah. So, but first we need to define what we want, and this is it's a little bit fuzzy, no? You study what is available, what's coming up, and define what you want. But this technology adaptation, I think, is very, very important. Not just wait until somebody comes, and some marketing guys from IT company coming to you and said, "Hey, here's a great product, please sell it," and then judge and buy it. This is too late, or even wrong sometimes, or very often. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Good. Dean, on your side, do you have a process to bring new technologies in? Maybe you could share some of your thoughts?
Sure. Every company, of course, in General Dynamics is pretty autonomous, and everyone's doing their own thing. So how does a large corporation, like General Dynamics, find out what other people are doing? Because we all know everyone's got better ideas than we do ourselves sometimes. So what we've done, back starting around 2004, we initiated an annual manufacturing symposium. And what we do is we invite, especially some of the younger people, to submit white papers, just one-pagers, abstracts, of some of the new things that they've done in their manufacturing processes that have, proven successful, had some interesting results. Mm-hmm. We have a panel that reviews all those white papers and selects some, the best ones. And then we all gather in Tampa, usually about 200 people across all the different 13 companies. Everyone's that attends is in manufacturing. All the VPs of manufacturing attend. The CEO usually attends every year. The CEO of General Dynamics. The previous CEO that attended for the first 6 or 7 before he retired said it was the most interesting and symposium across General Dynamics that he attended every year, and they have them for engineering and other areas as well. So every one of those papers are presented to this audience of 200 people. It allows for cross-collaboration. And it's, we found, and it's only General Dynamics people, of course, but we found that's the best way to, collaborate and share best practices throughout the company.
Thank you.